Welcome to day 6. Um, so today what I wanted to talk about was wanting and not wanting. And I don't have a specific quote from Lester because I've been listening to stuff and from tapes of his from I think the early 90s. So sorry about that. But um, I think central to what Lester is talking about is the fact that wanting or not wanting, which goes back to Buddhism, right? Clinging and grasping and aversion, I think is what they call it. That when we want something or we don't want something, rather than accepting that things are how they are, we create suffering for ourselves. And I've never seen that so clearly as I'm able to see it now. It's fascinating because probably a good 20 years ago, I remember listening to some Buddhist teaching about grasping and aversion, and I just did not get it. Like how do you not? Like it's, I think it was intellectual to me, and okay, you're just not supposed to care one way or the other about things, how things are, and what you might want and what you don't want. Um, and I feel like I see it more clearly because what I know I really don't want is internal suffering, right? I don't want to be sad, mad, um, you know, anxious, all of those things. Like I'm super clear about that. And and I think that was really the key point is if you're clear enough about your internal state being your priority, how you feel being your priority. If you are looking for uh, peace, which Lester would say, he does say that's the highest place you can go. It's not actually happiness, it's peace. If you really want to be at peace, you have to let go of the world. And I think that was the little extra nudge that I personally needed to start really getting clear about what's going on inside of me and to have it become really clear what my choices are. Because if I say that my internal peace is the most important thing to me, then it makes sense that I will let go of the world. If my husband isn't how I want him to be, if the weather isn't how I want it to be, if I want more money in my bank account, if I want a nicer car, who knows, right? You name it. You really have to decide. This is the question he poses to all of us, is you really need to decide, is trying to get that thing or trying to make that thing not true. Um, is that really more important to you than your peace, than your internal state? And that's, I think, where at 60 years old, I'm like, my peace is more important than any of that. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I don't stop action towards whatever it is I might want. So let's say, I want more money in my bank account. Well, so then that might mean that I work more or, whatever it is that I think is going to get me more money in my bank account. It's not that this, I go back to a Stan Groff quote. I understand these are his words, which is ask for what you want and then take what you get. And to me, that those two things, Lester's stuff coupled with that quote from Stan, it's like it's not a problem to say, all right, I'm going to work towards more money in my bank account, or I'm going to work towards losing weight. That's not a problem, but it's more, it's just how you hold it is what I would say. Is that if I can say, all right, I want that, but I'm not going to grip onto it so tightly, right? Like, look at my hand. What does it look like? It doesn't look very comfortable. If I had to hold this for a long time, this is going to start becoming painful. As opposed to, can I just say, yeah, I want that. Um, and then I suppose, can I then set it down and just allow, I don't know, allow the universe to decide whether I get that or I don't get that, as opposed to really efforting and gripping, because it's really becoming clear to me that it's my resistance to what is that create that creates my suffering. It's my needing things to be different. It's my wanting what I want, how I want it. That is totally the burden that I carry. So I think that's all I want to say about that. And so, yeah, so Lester would say letting go of those emotions, letting go of the idea that you have to have something out there to be happy in here, that you need something out there in the world or something in this body or something in your relationship to create the state, the internal state that you so desire. That's where he would say that is your biggest mistake. And I'm actually seeing like he is 100% right, that I could be 100% at peace if if I became clear that the world is perfect just as it is. Um, and I gained some clarity on that little bit today. So I guess I'm going to talk more. That what is perfect? Right? And what's your definition of perfect versus my definition of perfect? If we were to look at a meal, my perfect meal is probably going to be different than your perfect meal. Um, my perfect outfit's going to be different than your perfect outfit. My, perfect day is going to be different than your perfect day. Perfect's arbitrary and relative and subjective. And so that's kind of interesting. Like the idea that the world is perfect as it is, we all have this idea. My husband and I were talking about this a couple of days ago. We have this idea of what perfect must mean. I don't know if I throw some things out, if the world is perfect, that means nobody's suffering, nobody's in poverty, nobody's going hungry. Um, everybody's got enough water, clean water to drink, enough water to grow crops. Perfection means comfortable and means I'm not even sure what, but it means that we like it. It's if we like it, it must be perfect, right? Um, and what struck me today was that, oh my gosh, if we decide it's perfect, regardless, like if we essentially change our definition of what is perfection, and if we acknowledge, for me, what it means is if I say, all right, perfection is relative, and I get to decide that this is all perfect because I do not have a big enough brain nor a great enough awareness to really understand what's even going on in this universe. And, is there a God? Isn't there a God? I don't know, and if there is a God or if there is a higher intelligence, what are they doing? I don't know. And so if I trust, and this is maybe a leap for some people, possibly a lot of people, um, but if I decide that, all right, this must be perfect because it's what's happening. Um, if I make that decision and shift my thinking to this is perfect, then the interesting thing, this was kind of my haha today, is then it is. It's like, oh, if I think it's perfect, then ironically it becomes perfect because perfect is a subjective judgment anyways, right? So I can say, oh, I don't like this food and this food isn't any good. Um, or I can decide that this food is perfect as it is and really not try to understand or not try to get it to fit my version, but to say, well, if that's the food I've got, it must be perfect because it's what I've got. Um, and I know that might be hard to swallow, but I can tell you, if you can find a way to swallow it, it's going to benefit you. If you can find a way to make sense to you, it's going to benefit you. Because fundamentally, if you decide that something, if you decide that the world is perfect, you can relax. You can be less anxious. Um, and interestingly enough, this goes into kind of Lester made a comment on politics, because I could totally imagine somebody listening to this and saying, how can you say the world is perfect? Look at how divided the world is. I mean, it's not just this nation. It's everywhere, right? There's divisiveness everywhere. And so how could you say that's perfect? And I could argue, well, maybe it's perfect for us to overcome, right? And one of the things that Lester said that I just loved, which is, he's like, we're never going to legislate peace. And he didn't say this, but I'm going to say this is, and we can't expect politicians to bring peace. I mean, on some level, that's kind of not their job. Like if we really got to total peace, um, a lot of them, I mean, think about the whole military complex, not just in our country, but other countries. Like, yeah, tons of people lose their jobs. And I don't think that politicians are necessarily motivated in that way. It makes sense, right? It's like status quo is kind of their job and whatever. You could argue with me all day long about that, but I think Lester is right that we can't legislate peace. That the only way we will ever get to peace is when there are enough people who are coming from a peaceful place. And so, my argument for saying this world is perfect as it is if you can really love this world and if you can love your neighbor as you love yourself, and probably actually better than a lot of people love themselves, but if you can truly see the best in your neighbor, if you can truly love them, if you can see the best in the person who directly opposes you politically, that if you can come from that place of love, um, potentially that changes everything. It certainly changes your energy and it changes your experience. And so, therefore, changes your world. And enough of us do that, then it's not even going to matter what the politicians are doing, because we're going to create peace. So with that little bit, it's like, yeah, it's like, don't get too caught up on everything that's going on there that creates distress in your body. Create peace inside first. And once you've got peace inside, then you could worry about peace outside. But who knows? Maybe Lester's right. And once you create peace inside, you'll see that there becomes peace on the outside. I don't know how that'll work. I'll let you know in my my experience how it works, if and when I get to that place. All right, so hopefully that was of interest to you, and I'm going to start our meditation. I have something I know I want to work on, that has to something that I really want to do some letting go around. That's probably going to take me a number of these sessions to really get to the bottom of. But yeah, so I got my business. Hopefully you got your business, and I'm just going to take us through the standard thing that I do, which is a RAIN meditation. Recognize, accept, investigate, adding in the little Sedona infusion and Lester infusion of looking at, is this about approval or is this about control? And then giving some love with some nurturing. And then we're going to do a release. And then I might throw in a little piece, around that, what I was just talking about, around that idea of just trying to throw some love towards the individuals that I have some difficulty to work through today. All right. Best of luck to you. I am going to turn off my video now. And remember, I am probably going to get quiet. So if you want to turn up your volume, to combat that, please do. Okay. And so settling into your body, just noticing what's there. Taking a couple of nice deep breaths in through the nose and letting the breath out through the mouth. Seeing if you can bring yourself present, and then bring whatever you want to work on present. And if it's a past situation, something that happened in the past, you're going to want to bring up your now feelings about that past event. And so I've got mine. Hopefully you have yours. And so we're just going to walk into that first step, which is to recognize, how am I feeling? And then we accept it. Is it okay to feel this way? And I'm able to see with mine. It's just so human to feel how I feel. It has so much to do with my history and my injuries. And we shift into investigation. Is this about control and safety? Or is this about approval and love? Or the loss of either one of them? And shifting to nurturing and just appreciating this feeling. It's been here trying to take care of you, trying to get you control or safety, trying to get you approval or love. It's trying to help you survive. So just be thankful of it, appreciative of it to the best of your ability. And now shifting into release. Can I let go of some of this feeling, even if just for a little while? Will I let go of this feeling? And when? And circling back to the top, going back to the situation, noticing how you feel now, and remembering if you feel stuck or numbed out or something, whatever is coming up that doesn't feel primary, that's fine. You can just work on that. Can I release this feeling? Will I release this feeling? When? And circling back to the top again, going back to the situation or the feeling or the person if there's something still there. I'm noticing I'm getting stuck and I don't understand. And Lester has said, we don't need to understand. We just need to let go. So I'm going to let go of my need to understand. Can I let go of that? Will I let go of that? When? All right, I'm going to throw in that little piece that I suggested I might, which is really trying to have love for this other person. And if something comes up that says, oh, I can't love that person, that's fine. Do a rain release on that. But I think I can find some love for this person. He has a lot of suffering going on. Yeah, I can have compassion for that. He doesn't have any better tools. Okay, and just a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, that's it. Hopefully there was something in there for you. If you got stuck on the loving piece, don't worry about it. I'll talk more about it later. Because I have thoughts on that. That's definitely, I have spent a lot of time stuck around that, um, in particular with my husband. When a year ago, I was trying a Live from Love project, and it was very clear to me, like I wanted to live from that place of love and not from fear and not from anger, and I was clear that I didn't need to be angry, and um, boy, could I not do it. Um, and this letting go has definitely helped, but I have some other ideas that I'm not going to dig into right now. That might be helpful that come out of what Lester talked about. Um, yeah, okay. Too big of a topic for today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye.